Hello everybody and welcome back to Eastburn Models. Today we're going to be going over, does it make a difference what colour primer you spray with? So we've got the white, the black and the grey, and we're going to be using the Vallejo colour range. There's just about 8 colours here. So what we're going to be doing is, I just want to show you that what difference it makes, so you can decide what colour primer you want to spray with. It's just a rule of thumb that the lighter the colour, the lighter the primer you need to be, because if you put it onto a light colour onto a dark surface, it just takes more and more coats. So we're going to be going through that today. So we're going to get set up, and for each colour we're going to be doing 3 samples, the white, black and grey for each one, and then at the end we'll come back and we'll see what difference it actually makes, if any. Okay, so we're going to be starting off now with the yellow, the Vallejo yellow. This one is just I think it's medium yellow. So we'll get this one going. We'll give it again. We're going to be going over 3 primers, the grey, black and white, and we'll see what results we get at the end of this. So we'll just move them to the side. Right, so what we'll do, just a couple of drops, 3 drops of thinner. You generally don't need to thin this stuff, but I just like it because of the flow. And then we'll just put some paint into there. Give that a bit of a mix. Right, so we'll start with the white primer, the Vallejo primer, and we'll just give it a mist coat. And then we'll put that under the flasher. Well, we'll move on to the grey primer. And the black primer, make sure everything's clear. That's just air. And as you can tell with that one, even on the first coat now, I'll just put my gun down. I can show you. On the black one, you could just see a haze. You won't be able to see it on camera, but you could just see a haze of yellow. That's got more of a mustardy yellow. And that one, it's just a bit patchy, is that one. So we'll just keep going now until we get these covered up. So we'll start again with the white. Just a bit thicker, that one, and then we'll move on to the grey. Just a little bit thicker, and then we'll move on to the black. Again, it's struggling to cover the black, because it is only a very, very light colour. But we'll just keep going because they're under flasher. We'll move back to the white one because it's dry now, because I can touch it. Give it another coat. Just a bit slower this time to give it a more wetter coat. I haven't altered the amount of flow. I'm just moving the airbrush a little bit slower over it, giving it a wetter coat. So that's 3 coats now. So we'll move back onto this grey, and again just a slow coat, not altering the mixture. There we go. That's had 3 coats. Right, so now we'll go to the grey, the black, sorry. Now we'll give this another coat. And that's the black. Okay, so now we'll go on to the green. So all the paints have had a good shake anyway before I started this process. What we're going to do now is we're going to do the same again with green for black, grey and white. Okay, so now we'll put these on the flasher out. So we'll move on to the white one now. And again, just a light mist, just to allow the paint to adhere to something. Got a couple of splashes of green paint on here. And then we'll move on to the black. I'll just add a couple more drops of thinner into this. It's just not plain ball, isn't this one? That's what I mean with these Vallejo paints. Not just the Vallejo, but even though they're the same brand of paint, some of them take a little bit more thinning than the others. You can't just rely on a rule of thumb with these. You've just to thin it down equally and then adjust it as you go along. Right, so we'll move back onto the white. There, it's flowing a lot better now. Make sure we get everywhere. That's the second coat. We'll move on to this grey. There we go. Then we'll move on to the black. It's not actually changing the colour of the black because the black is a lot deeper than the actual green. What we'll do, we'll move back onto the white now, just a bit slower. And then we'll put that under the flasher. We'll go now to the grey. And that's the grey. And again the black. Not that it's making a difference, but just to be fair, we'll put another coat on it. And we'll just do a line there, just because then I know it has got grey paint on, because when it dries it does come back through as black, so at least I know now it has got green on it. Like I said, grey paint, it should be green. Okay, so now we're going to be moving on to the blue from Vallejo. So we'll get that one prepped up now. Again, we'll do it all the same, 3 coats on the white, grey and black. So again, we'll start with the white. Yep. And as you can tell, the white, that's all we're giving it, just a slight coat. We'll move on to the grey. And then the black. Oops. And then we'll move straight back onto the, because it's dry now. second coat for the white primer, just a bit slower this time. And I'll go on to the grey primer, again keeping the same speed, just a bit slower than the previous coat. Grey primer, and then we move on to the black primer. And then we'll move back to the white primer for the third and final coat. Again, just putting a bit more on this time, just because to get the colour through. And then we'll move on to the grey primer. It's just a lot wetter coat this time, because I know it can take it because of the primer I've used, which is the Vallejo primer. And then we'll move on to the black again. There we go. Okay, so now we're going to be moving on to the red colour now. So again, the same process. Okay, so we're back now with white. So again, we'll just give it a mist coat. And then we'll put that under the flasher. Move on to the grey. And now we'll move on to the black. There, that's the black. And we'll move back onto the white. Now it's dried. Yep. And just a little bit slower. That's the red. It's the second coat. That's on the white. So we'll move back onto the grey. And that's over the grey. And now we'll go over the white, the black, sorry. And we'll let them flash off for a couple of minutes because we put a load of paint on them. Okay, so this is the white primer. So we'll give this its third coat. Again, keep it to the same speed as the last coat. So we're putting it on a lot wetter this time. There we have it, that's the third coat. Right, so we'll move on to the grey. Bit slower. That's the grey primer. We'll move on to the black primer now. That's the black. Okay, so now we're going to be going on to the white now. So we'll get that mixed up. So what we'll do, we'll start with the white primer. Like so. Move on to the grey. It's the grey. Now we'll move on to the black. The black. Right, so we'll go back to the white now. That's the second coat. And the grey. And that's your grey. The second coat, and we'll move on to the black. And that's your black for your second coat. Right, so we'll move on to the white again now for the third coat, just going a little bit slower. Just to give it a nice wet coat without overloading it. And there we go, that's the white. And we'll move on to the grey primer. Like so. That's the grey primer. And then we'll move on to the black primer. That's the black primer. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the silver. So again, we'll move them to the side. Okay, so we'll do the white primer. That's the first coat. The grey primer. That's your grey. And then there's black. Okay, we'll go back to the second coat for the white primer. There we go, that's the second coat. Move on to the grey primer. That's your grey. We'll move on to the black primer. And that's your black. So we'll move on to the third coat for the silver now. And there's the silver on the white primer. And we'll move on to the grey primer. That's the grey primer. And now we'll move on to the black primered spoon. And that's the black. So again, this is the silver. Okay, so we're back with the last colour now. We're going to be moving on to the Vallejo gold. Again, we'll be going through the stages of the primers, the black, the grey and the white. So we'll get set up for that. Okay, so we're set up for that now. So we'll start with the white primer. There we go. Move on to the grey primer. And we'll move on to the black primer. Oh, you can see a difference in that gold straight away. Look at that, that's lovely, that one. So, go on to the second coat. That's your second coat of the white. Move on to the grey. That's your grey. And then your black. That's your black primer. Okay, so we'll go back in for the final third coat now on the white primered spoon using the gold. Just go a little bit slower this time. And that's the third colour of the gold. This is the third coat now of the grey primer. That's the third coat of the gold on the grey primer. And now we'll move into the black. And that's the third coat of the black. Okay, so we're back at the bench now. Well, should I say booth? I've had these in the dehydrator for about 30 minutes just to make sure that they're completely dry and they've all had the same amount of treatment then. So we started off with using the white primer, the grey primer and the black primer. We give them all 3 coats each just to see or determine which primer works better with the colours of the range of these Vallejos. So what we'll do, we'll start with the blues. Now, as you can tell, I don't know if you'll be able to tell on the actual camera itself. You'll definitely be able to tell on this one. With using the white primer, that's the Vallejo white. With using the white primer, the blue is a light blue. So it's covered absolutely lovely, you know, and it's so durable. It's not cracking or anything. And then we went on to the grey primer, which is the Vallejo grey. So we went on to that one, and it come out deeper than the white primer. So, but it might have been because it was obviously it's a darker colour than the white. Then the black primer, it still had 3 coats, but it come out a dark blue, which is fine. But it just goes to show that you can't just say one primer fits all. A lot of people tend to stick with the greys, and that's what they get. But that's why I like to do these tests of I've got 3 primers that I primarily use, I don't use any other really, apart from an aerosol one every now and again. But when it comes to these colours, I'll keep these spoons with that colour now, because I know the Vallejo and I know what that blue will look like on the white primer, the grey primer and the black primer. So I've got 3 shades of blue just from one bottle, without having to go out and buy them 3 shades. So now that's the blue. Put them to one side. We'll move on to the silver. This is just a standard silver from Vallejo. And again we went on to the white, grey and then a black. And to be fair, they all come out the exact same. So again, durability's there. It can bend it. I'm bending the spoons, it's not cracking or anything. So the durability's there. The colouring is all the same, but I didn't expect it to change on, say, the metallics or the silvers or anything like that. So, but again, the black was fine, the grey and the white, they're all exactly the same. So that was the silver. Put that to one side. We'll go with the green now. This is the Vallejo olive green, this one. So, and again we've got 3 shades of green. I know it's going to be a bit awkward for you to see on the camera. You've got like a palish green. That was the white primer. Then you have the grey primer. It went a little bit darker. And then you had the black primer, so it's even darker. So you should be able to tell that difference from the light there. I actually prefer it on the black. I like that colour, but if I did need a lighter colour, I would go for the grey or even the white, because they go up in stages, these colour. You can't just tell on camera, that's all, but I can tell we're looking at them now. They're all different. But I do like the black primer for that olive green for Vallejo. So that's that green. Put that in there. That there. Right, and now we're moving on to the gold. So it's a metallic gold from Vallejo. And this is the white primer. I can see all the metallic in it, everything. It's a really nice gold, is that, really nice on the white. Then it's a slight change in it, but not much, when I went on to the grey. It's got more of a richer gold as that one, a deeper gold. But again, you can see all the metallic in it, everything is lovely on there. And then we went on to the black. Now the black came out really nice. I prefer the black. Again, I prefer the black for the metallic gold. Although I do like the higher ones, but they're all in tone. So you've got a dark gold, mid gold, and like a light gold. So, but yeah, that did work out really nice, did that, on the black. So that was the gold. Then we move on to just a standard Vallejo red, which I need to get some more of that because all that's gone now. So if I move these out and just pull these together, make a mess of everything. So that's the white with red. So that's the white and that's the grey with red, that's the black. So as you can tell, we've got 3 shades again. You're gonna get that because of the colour differences between these. So that was the white one. Again, you won't be able to tell much difference. You've got the grey one and you've got the black one. Now I don't like it on the black. I don't like it at all, even though it's deep I don't like it. It's going to take a lot more coats, because like I said, to keep this trial fair, I put 3 coats of it on each spoon. So, but that one looks like it needs another 2 or 3 coats, so that will end up being 6 coats, and I'm going to get a deep red. So if I would go, nearest one to that bottle would be the grey primer. Would that one? It would be the grey primer. So I now know that the Vallejo red, it looks better from the grey. So I'll pick my selection of these, and then I know which one, like the grey with red, and then I'll mark it up Vallejo on the spoon. Then I'll keep that one, so I know that the grey primer is for the red Vallejo, and so on. So that's that one. Now this is what shocked me, the yellow. Now the yellow, this is just a medium yellow on a white spoon, white yellow. On a white spoon it came out a bright yellow. Then on the grey yellow for yellow, it come out dark yellow, a darkish yellow. And then on the black yellow, it come out an olive green, which is ironic really, because now I've got 3 greens. So I've got 4 shades of green. 2 of them are olive green, 3 of them, sorry, are olive green, and one's a yellow. But again, it needed a lot more coats. You can still see the yellow where it's hit the white here, where it wasn't primered with black on the handles of the spoon. So I don't like it on the black. I'm not so keen on it on the grey, but I do like the yellow on the white. So I know for my future reference that for that one I will always put that yellow on white. So that was them. I will move on to the blacks. I never showed this on camera, the footage went a bit wrong. Now the black, it's just a standard Vallejo black. It went over a white spoon and it just went black. Grey spoon just went black again, and a black spoon, well, just went black. So there's not really much to say about black. Black will cover over anything because of the colouring. Now the white, this is just a standard white from Vallejo, and over a white spoon it come out lovely in crystal white. Again, every single one of them are fantastic, because we're not really overloading it like I've said on my previous videos. So it went lovely on white. The grey spoon, it just went an off white, but it's still white. It's still fine for what you need. So, and then the black spoon, it came out a little bit shade darker, but even though it's still white, you can tell the difference under a certain light, but you can't on camera. But they're just going up in a very, very subtle shade. So obviously when it comes to white, you want to be putting it over a white primer anyway, just to give it the best chance. Because the darker you go with these lighter colours, the darker you go, the more coats you're going to have to give it. In a sense, a bit like the yellow here, because it went over black. It's going to need so many coats just to bring that yellow, and it's never going to be a true yellow, not compared to say a white primer. You know, there's no way you're going to get that spoon to that colour because of the primer that's on it. Because as you can tell, even though these have been primered, They've been primered in the white. Yeah, white and yellow. It's been primered in the white, so it's had 2 coats of primer, then it's had 3 coats of paint, and we still can see through the spoon to see the writing on the back. So it's still thin as the paint that we've put on, because we do not want to overload them. So we know that each colour of them takes different shade. It alters the shades of things. Fundamentally, if I had to use, if people are looking for a certain colour, or what you call a good all-round colour, then I'd stick with a white primer. If you're new to airbrushing and you're just wanting to have so you don't have this different understanding of the way primers work, that's what I'd go with. I'd go with just a standard white primer to prime everything with, because you will get brighter colours. Then the more you get used to the paints and how they work and the colours you're actually after, then you can start toying with idea of moving to a darker primer. But just as an overall colour, yeah, I'd just stick with the white. But if you're wanting to, my advice to anybody who's wanting to know what colours these are going to be like is, if you're already committing to the airbrushing, that's why you're at this stage or watching this video, is just buy some cheap plastic spoons, and if you've got, you don't need all 3 of these colours, but if you've got 2 of them, just spray 2 spoons for each colour and do what I've done, and then just create yourself samples to go with that bottle. So that way then, if you're wanting to do a certain model or pick a certain colour, you can actually, you've got the 3 spoons for that colour, for that Vallejo. It's on its own, so you know what it's going to look like on the black, what it's going to look like on the grey, what it's going to look like on the white. That's the best advice I can give you, because at least with these, once they're labelled up and put into a tub, you've always got them spoons to go with that paint. And that's what I do with the all different makes of paints. I always have a bunch of spoons that I can refer to and say, well, I actually like that colour better for this model, so what I'll tend to do is I will put it in a grey primer and spray this yellow on top of it. Oops, camera's moving again, because I know exactly what I'm going to get from it, because I've got them here. So that's the best advice I can give you from the Vallejos, the way they work. And it's just the same principle for any other paint you get, any other batch of paint or any other make of paint, because I use a lot of the Timbertech stuff. So what you could do is you could just have a set of spoons. If you've got all 3 primers, well, that's fine. If you've got all 3, you just do what I've done and just create 3 spoons for each colour then, because you've got them all. You've got the white, the black and the grey. So, and that's what you're going to get, different shades of it. So that's it for this video. That was just a quick demonstration. Well, I won't say quick, but that was a quick demonstration of how you can achieve the colours, what they come out like straight from the bottle. I know I've had to thin a couple of them, but the thinning don't make that much of a difference. I'm only putting a little bit of thinner in anyway, but it's just to let you know that if you get a set of paints like this and you want to know what they're going to come out like, always do a test sample. And that's one of the reasons why I have these spoons, is so that now they become my test sample now for that specific paint for any of them primers. So that's why I keep them with that now, and I'll so on. I've always got my test samples now. My colour swatch is really what I want. So The next video will be on a compressor that I've just ordered. It's coming tomorrow, so I'll be doing a review on that and why I've changed my compressor for my airbrushing. But what I might also do is do a video on the 3 different types of lacquer that I use. So just to give an example, I can just use these spoons because I have so many painted up. I could just use a batch of them, and we'll just show what each colour looks like with a certain lacquer, and then we'll move on again to another one. But I use 3 types of lacquer, and I'll show you the process of that as well. So apart from that, that's everything. Thanks very much for watching.